Welcome back to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today because, wow, we are looking at one of nature's ultimate survivors. We're talking about everything from the iconic great white and the massive whale shark, all the way to Mediterranean species like the sandbar and the critically endangered angel shark. Today, we're completely breaking down the incredible anatomy, the deep history, and the sheer survival mechanics of cartilaginous fishes, or as you probably know them best, sharks.
But before we get into the nitty-gritty of their anatomy, let me just ask you a question to put things into perspective. What creature mastered the oceans millions of years before dinosaurs even existed? It's honestly kind of hard to wrap your head around, but the apex predators we're looking at today predate not just the mighty T-Rex, they're actually older than the very first trees to ever grow on Earth. Crazy, right?
So here's our biological blueprint for today's explainer. First, ancient guardians of the ocean. Second, the cartilaginous skeleton. Third, armor and energy efficiency. Fourth, advanced electrosensory systems. And finally, number 5, rays and chimeras. All right, let's jump straight into section 1, ancient guardians of the ocean. Okay, let's look at this timeline to really map out their legacy. 450 million years ago, that is when the first sharks appeared in the dark depths of the oceans. To put that immense span of time into perspective, dinosaurs didn't even show up on the scene until about 240 million years ago. And when the dinosaurs were famously wiped out by that massive extinction event 65 million years ago, the sharks just kept right on swimming. They are literally the ultimate time-tested survivors of the deep. Moving right along to section 2, the cartilaginous skeleton. So the crucial point to understand here is the massive structural contrast between your standard fish and sharks. See, most fish have these heavy, rigid, bony skeletons with lateral ribs, right? And that inherently limits their movement. But sharks, which belong to the class Chondrichthyas, utilize this brilliant, lightweight skeleton made entirely of cartilage. And what that does is it gives them unparalleled flexibility and the sudden maneuverability that standard bony fish just simply cannot match. When you look at this typical bony fish structure, notice those heavy lateral ribs extending outward. Look at that dense horizontal bone framework running right through the muscle. Sharks? They completely bypass all this restrictive hardware. Now look at this. The shark's entire skeletal framework, including the neurocranium, which is the skull, and the visceral cranium, the gill arches, it's all built from pure, flexible cartilage. I mean, it is a total masterclass in lightweight bioengineering. It's exactly what allows them to twist, turn, and hunt with such incredible agility. But wait, their internal adaptations definitely do not stop at the skeleton. Unlike land animals or bony fish, sharks actually don't have connective tendons binding their muscle bundles directly to the bone. Instead, their muscles are wrapped in these highly specialized connective tissue sheaths called myocomata. And here's another super cool internal feature. Their intestines contain a spiral valve. It's literally shaped like a helix, and that maximizes the surface area for absorbing energy from their meals. They literally extract every single ounce of efficiency from their bodies. Which brings us to section 3, armor and energy efficiency. Now, zooming in on the skin here, notice how these placoid scales are arranged diagonally. This specific, almost mathematical structural pattern creates these microscopic channels for water to flow through that minimizes drag and essentially turns the shark into this frictionless ghost, just gliding silently through the water. So here is the absolute wildest part about this. These placoid scales are biologically and structurally homologous to actual teeth. I'm not kidding. They have an enamel coating, they have a dentin layer underneath. A shark is literally covered, head to tail, in thousands of tiny, backward-facing teeth. It's an incredible adaptation that drastically reduces water resistance and saves them massive, massive amounts of energy as they constantly patrol the oceans. Let's move on to section 4, advanced electrosensory systems. Just look at this sensory array. It's like science fiction. Along the sides of their bodies, they have this lateral line system, acting as this infallible radar network to detect even the most subtle wave currents and vibrations. Inside their heads, they have highly specialized inner ears that pinpoint sound, direction, and balance, totally without needing an outer ear at all. They even have advanced chemical receptors, basically taste buds, located deep in their pharynx. But the absolute crown jewel of their senses has to be the ampulla of Lorenzini. 1 billionth. Seriously, the ampullate of Lorenzini gives sharks an entirely unmatched electromagnetic detection system. They can literally sense the microscopic electrical fields generated by the muscle contractions of hidden prey. We're talking about detecting fields as incredibly faint as 1/1000th of a volt. No way you're hiding from that. And hey, if their electromagnetic radar wasn't enough for you, consider their sense of smell. A shark is capable of detecting a single drop of blood diluted within an entire Olympic-sized swimming pool. Think about that scale for a second. When you combine that level of olfactory precision with their electrical sensors and wave detection, well, you easily understand why they are the undisputed apex predators of the sea. They play an absolutely vital role in keeping entire marine ecosystems perfectly in balance.
Okay, final section. Section 5, Rays and Chimeras.
Here we can see the broader Chondrichthyes family. This brilliantly illustrates how nature adapted the exact same cartilaginous chassis for entirely different ecological niches. You have the classic, recognizable torpedo shape of the shark, the ventrally flattened shape of the ray, and then you have the bizarre deep-sea profile of the chimera. When we compare the wider family here, just look at the rays for a second. They are these ventrally flattened, bottom-dwelling creatures. And because they rest on the sand, their 5 pairs of gills are completely underneath their bodies. So to breathe, they use these cool openings on top called spiracles to pull in water. Now, on the other hand, look at the chimeras, sometimes called sea cats. They have this large head and a tapering body perfectly suited for the deep ocean. And unlike sharks and rays, they are completely scaleless. Their gills are actually hidden by a protective cover called an operculum. They have no spiracles, and they defend themselves using this massive venomous spine right on their primary dorsal fin. So we're seeing totally different adaptations, but it's the exact same incredibly successful ancient lineage. So I want to leave you with this final, kind of provocative thought. This is a 450-million-year-old biological design. It survived global mass extinctions. It completely outlasted the dinosaurs. Yet today, this flawlessly adapted biology is severely threatened by human impacts, like overfishing and the absolutely devastating practice of shark finning. You know, it is really time we stop seeing them as movie monsters and start recognizing them as the vital guardians of the ocean that they are. They desperately need our conservation efforts. Thank you so much for exploring this with me today on The Explainer. Keep asking questions, keep learning, and I'll see you all next time.